made it Discord server, March was Manhwa month. Though called Manhwa month because of the nice alliteration, it was primarily trying to read anything that was manga inspired or adjacent that didn't originate from Japan. Manhwa, danmei, those kind of things. I initially started the month with great aspirations to just read a load of my unread manhwa, but quite quickly I ended up trying to just see if I could read all of my unread Eyes Press volumes. For those who don't know, Eyes Press is an imprint from the Yen Press publisher, and they published manhwa under that imprint. At the time of Manhwa month, when it started, there was 36 or 37 different series, and I do predominantly try to stay up to date with most of them, and there are so many of them I really enjoyed. But I had unfortunately fallen behind with quite a few, so after a few days into the month and I'd read quite a few of Eyes Press volumes, I was like, maybe I should set myself the challenge and see if I can just get up to date with all the volumes that I own. So yes, to clarify, this was not necessarily getting up to date with stuff that was out, it was getting up to date with stuff that I owned. I am aware that I'm saying I caught up to date with this and a new volume has come out, or I'm a few volumes behind. I am aware. I was aiming for stuff that I'd read, so I'm at least up to date with stuff. I have actually since a few days ago done an unboxing and opened up a whole bunch more Eyes Press volumes, so I'm so excited to jump back in. For those interested, I do track percentage read out of my collection, and I had a filter for Eyes Press and I was just trying to see how much of it I could get to 100%. Here's a little graphic for you to see. It's not going to be at 100% now because I bought the latest new releases, but I've definitely made a decent chunk. I believe out of all the series that I have, like 30 something, there were only 3 series I didn't manage to get up to date with the volumes that I owned, and that is Jungle Juice, Boxer, and World After the Fall. No major reason, to be honest, just I think Boxer and After the Fall were some of my least favourite ones, so I put them off. They're also 2 of the series I haven't completely stayed up to date with collecting anyway, and Jungle Juice was just my next on the hit list and I just didn't manage to get to it. Without further ado, let us dive into what I read. We're going to vaguely go in the order that I read, and you can actually just see them behind me. This is mostly the order that I read them, and I just put them on the shelf here after I'd read it. The first volume I read for Manhwa month was Villains Are Destined to Die Volume 7. Ooh! Not even one of my favourite Eyes Press, favourite Villainess, favourite Isekai. It is just one of my favourite series. This is a absolutely amazing series. It is continuously beautiful, continuously heart-tugging. It is gorgeous, and this volume had me gasping. I am a big fan of the series. I think you should be able to see, I can't fully tell, part of my Villains Destined to Die shrine behind me. I have 2 shelves. I have this one and that one, and that is through picking up the Korean versions of the volumes, and they come with bonuses. And I did pick up the 7th one back in August in 2024, and I was good and I didn't peek. I was like, no, I'm gonna wait till the English one comes out. I think we're far enough in. I don't want to really give too many spoilers, but it is a series I highly recommend. I absolutely adore it. Do it. And if you get really into the series, there's a bunch of merch. If you'd like some help on finding the Korean versions, happy to help you. Most of them picked up on Neokyo or Christmas presents. Next we have Remarried Empress Volume 9, another series, big massive fan of. At the start of the month I had a bunch of new releases, and that was primarily what I was aiming to read, and then I dived into trying to catch up with series I was behind on. First off, I love the cover of this one. She looks gorgeous. It is, I guess, slightly spoilerish, but also it's kind of in the name, so yeah. I feel like this kind of thing on a cover is almost like an inevitable spoiler. I don't personally, I don't really care unless it's like out of left field, like, oh my god, I can't believe those 2 characters get together. But it's personally not what I'm bothered. I know people are, and that is absolutely fine and valid. But I feel like sometimes, depending on the type of series, it's almost going to be a given. Remarried Empress Volume 9, excellent volume. Stuff happened that we might expect. Lots of political stuff, lots of intrigue from the previous emperor. I didn't appreciate the cliffhanger this volume ended on, though. It just felt a bit like, oh, everything's going great, let's twist that a little bit, throw a spanner in the works. Like, oh! I can't remember if I looked when Volume 10 is coming out, but damn, I was not impressed when I got to the end of this one at all. I hope it's resolved quickly. Tied to You Volume 4, the final volume in the series, and I believe the first Eyes Press series that I completed, as in read the final volume of. I know there have been a couple more, and I do believe I completed them during this reading vlog, but this is the first one that I completed. It is a 4-volume BL with like there's a red string of fate that this guy is in love with someone, but actually his red string of fate ties into the brother. Oh my god. In volume 4, all of the sort of manipulation has come to light, and our poor guy, what are they called? Wusio? Forgive me, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Our the younger guy has learnt of all the deceit and is trying to process it, and most of the volume is him like being sad and trying to process what happened. I think I wasn't personally too fussed about the ending. It felt completely dragged out. I wish we'd had some more drama instead of this whole like sadness. I can't believe that he did this to me. I also understand there is some 18+ elements if you read it online, and they are not included in this. I believe it's like a cutaway, I guess, if it is the bit that I think it is. I don't know if that would have made it better, but I feel like it wasn't a bad ending, it was an ending. I wasn't blown away by it. The rest of the series was fine. I really liked volume 3, but volume 4 I think let me down a bit. SSS Class Revival Hunter 2. I adore my system series, and this month very much reinforced it because we have a few system series we're going to be getting to later on. So this guy has like 2 skills. He has like a back in time. If he's been killed, he reawakens 24 hours earlier, I believe. And also, if he has been killed by someone or something, he can nick one of their skills. It's one of those kind of worlds. We've got skills and dungeons and stuff. So every time he's killed, he goes back in time and is able to nick a skill. So he's able to relive the same thing over and over until he can get through whatever hurdle he needs to get through while also still powering and leveling up. And I love this kind of series because he's gone so far back in time, he like knows what's going to happen as well, which is another trope that I really like, where they're able to like try and overcome problems and difficulties. There's quite a sad element in this volume in regards to a group of children, so definitely potentially look up the content warnings for this volume to make sure you'd be happy enough to read it. I recommend Storygraph for looking up content warnings. If you like system series, absolutely want to recommend. I can't wait for volume 3. Villainess Turns the Hourglass, volume 6. Now, we had a lot of story progression in this one. Sometimes I forget there's some story going on that isn't just the romance and like the revenge. So we kind of learn that a good chunk of nobility, well, I say we learn, it has been happening for a little bit, I just kept forgetting. The nobility have been slowly trying to rise up to go against the throne, the royalty, the crown, and that kind of happens in this volume, except their, what's the word, court before it actually happens. And all the characters that have not been great to our main character, Arya, have all been captured. And not great things are happening. It's like that revenge plot is finally paying off for her. Also, she comes like completely clean. Is it this volume she comes completely clean? Or the one before, where she explains to the emperor, husband, fiance, about the whole back in time hourglass stuff. And he like explained some of his powers as well. So we learn a little bit more about the hourglass and how it works and why she can use it. I'm hoping there aren't too many volumes. It's definitely volume 7. I don't think volume 7 has final on it. So maybe 8 would be the end, but it definitely feels like much more is dragging out. We've gotten the revenge, things are going great. We can wrap up the revenge in the next volume maybe, and then what? I know it is a complete series, but it's really difficult sometimes to tell when you look at a chapter count how many volumes that's going to equate to, because chapters online and chapters in a volume do not match up at all in the slightest. But yeah, if you're enjoying the revenge, lots of revenge in this volume, lots of revenge. Finding Camellia volume 2. Also really like this series. There are so many Ice Press I really like. There are some that I didn't, we'll get to them. The interactions between the love interests and Camellia are always on point, especially with how many topless scenes we get. This was a good volume and it ended on a real nice cliffhanger. I already have volume 3 and I can't wait to read it. Just finishing some other volumes first. I do feel like I struggle to talk about what happens in these volumes, but I do always enjoy them as they're reading them, as I'm reading them. Camellia is trying to figure out a way of extracting herself from nobility now that her brother is improving his health and is trying to figure out how to track down her mother, whilst also being sent to boarding school in the capital and sort of being trained up as if they are still a member of nobility. And yeah, we had a nice cliffhanger and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for volume 3. Beware the Villainess volume 2. Lots of weird stuff happened in this. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, and I love how dumb it is. There is some slight weirdness with the new love interest that has appeared, as they have had, I believe, part of their tongue removed. They can't talk. And they're also a shape-shifting wolf, dog, creature. And our villainess character is trying to sort of make use of them to be able to bat away the crown prince, so he'll leave her alone and she'll have a better chance of like survival, I assume. I can't remember exactly. It's usually how it goes with villainess titles. Avoiding the bad path. She's also making good friends with the heroine of the original story, and I also really like that. I love when the heroine and the villainess make good friends, and when the guy is actually really bad on the outside. And the heroine and the villainess team up together. But yeah, this is incredibly dumb, silly humour. It's probably one of the more dumb, silly humour like manhwas that I've read, and I absolutely adore it. I feel like you need to have a certain taste to enjoy it, maybe. So you might just think it's too dumb. I think it's great dumb. Okay, next we're going to start tackling some of the series where I read a bunch of volumes, and oh my god, I got so into some of these. First off, we have Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint 2 through 5. I did actually read volume 2 a few days before I read these. I went away for work and I took some with me, and I read volume 2 and I was like, as soon as I get home, I'm going to read 3, 4 and 5, and that's exactly what happened. This is another system-based series. It's kind of like a light novel OP Paradise series. Can I get them all? They're so heavy. This is one of the reasons I'm filming this reading vlog upstairs, is man was heavy and I didn't want to take it downstairs, so I was like, I'll just film it where they are, and this is where I keep my eyes pressed, and I'd like put the stuff that I'd read, so I was like, I'm doing it up here because it's heavy. It's really heavy. Basically, this guy had been reading this light novel online, and it is really, really long, and when he gets to the end of the story, the events of the light novel begin to actually happen. And the guy is using his knowledge of what he read to try and survive and make things go right. It's another series where we have a system-based skill thing. People have skills and stats and they level up, and he also has foreknowledge of what's going to happen because he's read the light novel. And I just absolutely adored it. There is the light novel of this, which the manhwa is based on, is coming out from Eyes Press later in the year, and I'll probably pick that up for Ben as well. Actually, I believe Villains Are Destined to Die is also getting one as well, but I don't know if there is a date announced for that release yet. This was a stupendous read, and I have volume 6, and I can't wait. I can't wait. Look at this random flip on a page. Look at this. We've got a quest, and look at that quest right up. It's beautiful. This is exactly what I want. It's so dramatic, it's so colourful. We've got these quests, bad guys. Some people also have read some of the light novel, but maybe not all of it. Seems like the character that we follow might be the only one who's read all of it and knows what's going to happen. He's also trying to track down the main guy from the story. He knows some of the people that he's around anyway because their names in the story as well. Oh my gosh, oh yes. So much fun. If you like system-based series or light novel themed series, I guess, definitely one to try. And if you're not interested in the manhwa, or you think it's too long, too expensive, whatever, give the light novel a go when it comes out. The Horizon, volumes 2 and 3. This is a series complete at 3. It has been complete for a while on my shelves. I just put off reading it because I don't like reading depressing series. I read volume 1 and I was like, no, I don't think this is for me. But I really did want to try and complete it to at least... I find sometimes if I've started a down series, I need to see it to completion so I can see how it ends, not have this like open-mindedness what happened with them by the end. I have questions if that was a good idea because I do think it did manage to get more depressing. Volume 2 had the backstory of the girl, and that was probably one of the most depressing things I have ever read. So one of the main reasons I did decide to jump into it was because I was at the time I was in a mentally good place, and I thought, well, of all the times to tackle it, if I don't do it now, I probably won't. So I made sure to wait till I was in a good mental space. I had time, I made sure it was during the day, so I had light, I had a cat, I sat comfy, I had drinks and snacks, and I think that definitely helped because even getting to the end, though incredibly depressing, I didn't feel good by the end. I did feel a lot better than I had when I got to the end of volume 1. And this is one of the main reasons I avoid depressing series, not because I think they're bad or anything, they really impact me myself. They impact my mental health, and I don't need something else impacting my mental health when it is the way it is. But yeah, volume 2, despite its very bright cover, had an incredibly depressing backstory for the female character. God damn, it was really bad. And volume 3 didn't get overly better, to be honest. Major spoilers for the ending, but I mean, it's a reading vlog. I will be spoiling throughout anyway. It did have a happier ending, I guess, but I did get quite confused. I didn't realise that we were following the same character but aged up. I just did not realise, and until I kind of like checked, I was like, are we? Maybe? I'm not sure. And I think they were trying to say by the end, like, it is worth living, it is worth being around because of love and all of that. But there were definitely points when reading it, it's like, are we just now trying to make this aggressively depressing for the sake of being depressing? It sometimes felt, let's just keep shoveling it in, let's just keep going, because I mean, if that was the goal, they did it. I must say, in its favour, there are some ways that they use imagery and paneling to make it feel like you're feeling the emotions of the character, with the black pages and the slight use of colour occasionally, and how they have the drawings on the pages. I don't really know how to describe it without like just outright showing you, but some of them are quite gory imagery and I'd rather not put it in the video. I think it did definitely make you feel, I definitely felt like I was more with the character than when I typically read manga, manhwa, stuff like that. I did actually write, I believe, a much more eloquent review when I reviewed volume 3 on my story graph, because I did rate it lowly because it is not something I enjoyed, and I feel like when I rated it as lowly as I did want to express that it's more a personal opinion that I didn't enjoy it as opposed to me thinking it's bad. Because I think sometimes when rating stuff there can be a difference of opinion in how you rate. Like, can you rate something because you didn't enjoy it, or do you have to rate it on how objectively good you think it was? And I disagree. Rate however you like. You are not beholden to anyone. It's your own opinion. I rate on how I feel when I read something, not whether necessarily I think it's really good. I don't necessarily think these are badly written. I think they are quite a drastic, depressing view on war and the children living during it. Did I enjoy it? No. No, I didn't. But I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it because of how it shows that. So if you're interested in my more written review of it, which was, I believe, a lot more eloquent because I did put some real effort into writing it, and I wrote it immediately after I read the 3rd volume. That is up on my story graph, and I am happy to discuss it in the Discord server if anyone fancies it. But yeah, this is one that is just not my cup of tea. We're going to do a few different series together, and you're going to be able to see why we are grouping them together, and that is Dark Moon Volume 4 and 5. These are so heavy. Star Seekers 2 through 5, so 4 volumes there, and 7 Fates Shako Volumes 2 through 5 as well. The reason these are all grouped together, if you are unaware, these are all created by the same creator. I assume it's a group of people, but I truthfully have not looked into it, by the same people called Hybe, and they are all series based on various K-pop groups. Can I pick them all up together? Oh god. Oh, here you go. So we have 3 different series. We have Dark Moon, Star Seekers, and 7 Fates. Before I did this read, I would say that no, they're too heavy, they're going down again. Before I did this read, I would say my favourite was Dark Moon, followed by Star Seekers, followed by 7 Fates. And I had been quite enjoying Dark Moon because it felt like I was reading a vampire love fanfiction. I still think it is probably my favourite of the 3, but my enjoyment of it the further in I've gone has definitely gone down a bit. I believe 6 or 7 is the final. I think 7 is the final one, and I have 6 downstairs ready to read next. And I believe Star Seekers is complete at 6, and I have 6 downstairs, and 7 Fates is complete at 7 as well, and I have 6 of that downstairs as well. I have a bunch of 6s to read. So I'm glad they're not like too long, but I definitely feel reading all 3 of them, they are very 100% appealing to an audience that is already vaguely familiar with the groups, and it definitely comes across while reading it that the creators, the artists, the story writers are also very familiar and are very, it definitely feels like there is love for the groups when you're reading it. But as someone who is completely what's the word? Ignorant. I'm quite ignorant to this kind of thing. I'm not really aware of it. Not for any particular reason, it's just not something I have really dived into much myself. I'm reading these books as a complete outsider to these fandoms, and I think it has made it harder for me to get into the series, and some of them it's put me off almost because of the way they kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way, but pandering to the fans, which I feel like if I was a fan of these, I would absolutely love it. I found it with other series before, series that are based on, say, video games or mobile games. If it's not something I already have background knowledge in, I find it a lot harder to enjoy because I just don't have that background. Whereas something like the Final Fantasy XIV manga, I had that background, I know the characters and the story, and it just made me enjoy it way more, whereas I believe someone who'd not played Final Fantasy XIV would probably not enjoy that manga to the same extent that I did. In fact, they'd probably be as confused as I am sometimes reading some of these other ones. And also, because there is already an established group for these series, there is just this, it feels like they're trying to quickly rush in these characters, and they're trying to sometimes encourage more characters to be in a scene than would potentially make sense story-wise, just because they want all the characters to be there. Yeah, you do get a lot of panels like this where they're all like peeking in a line, and I just feel like it looks a little silly, them all just like trying to scoot in so they can all be there. But I do think that Dark Moon of the three is the prettiest drawing. This drawing of the main female character is very nice to look at. And yeah, in terms of story, Dark Moon, we're kind of getting a load of lore as to why the whole band is obsessed with this female character that has just appeared out of nowhere. Turns out past lives, jazz like that. Princess and They Were the Knights stuff. Yeah, we get a load of backstory. It's not bad, but it is incredibly cheesy though. It is very like fan fiction. The boy bands turned up at my house and I'm the only one that can manage them on their tour. That was unfortunately not the sort of fanfiction I was into much growing up, as my music idol was John Williams. John Williams turning up at my door saying I needed to come with him on tour. Oh! And then next up, my initial second favourite series out of the three was Starseekers. Having caught up with this and Seven Fates, I'm gonna say this is now my least favourite, which surprised me. Seven Fates has slightly overtaken, plus this has gone down a load. This is so cheesy and confusing, and I got a bit disappointed where the story was going. Also, the group of them are called the Boys of Destiny, and I just can't get over that. I can't get over they're called the Boys of Destiny. The art style is also just not one for me. How the faces look, I'm not a massive fan. I don't think they look right. The lips are they're just not for me. It's just not one I've really enjoyed, like, looking at visually. But yeah, I can't get over they're called the Boys of Destiny. But yeah, story-wise, I was a bit disappointed because I was kind of hoping with Volume 1 it was going to be like idols used powers to like dance on stage and perform, and then this boy band didn't have any, but they were starting to uncover them throughout the first volume, and I thought, oh great, is it going to be about them like performing and stuff? But no, there's like this whole end of the world and they end up going to train with monks and stuff, and it gets really weird, and they don't really do performances. They do like one more maybe, but it's like kind of put to the side, and that was what I was kind of excited for. And also they keep saying about, oh, we have to save the world to save our fans. And I'm like, oh god, please stop. I'll hold back complete judgment till I read volume 6, which is the final one, but I do not have faith. That will be definitely this month read. After I have a stack to read, and then after I've read that, I'm going to move on to my Eyes Press and catch up more on that. But yeah, bit disappointed. And then the last one is Seven Fate Shaco, volumes 2 to 5. This was, I think, what I did enjoy was there is still a large cast, but they introduced them much slower. Now, I did initially complain with volume 1. I felt they were like trying to introduce people way quickly, but that was before I read Dark Moon and Starseekers, which do it way faster. They actually did introduce, like, I think right through to like volume 4 or volume 5, we still had characters being introduced. And the whole thing with Seven Fates is, like, it turns out this whole group of people, I assume the band BTS, and I have heard of them, turns out back in time they were all in originally one person, and they've like split, and they've now got sort of this, like, they need to beat up this monster army that's like coming through, something like that. There's a lot of fighting and cool fight scenes, and it looks pretty sick, to be honest, when reading them. Still don't think it's exemplary, but it has been more enjoyable the further in I've got, which I will take. I'll take that. So yeah, Dark Moon now my favourite, followed by Seven Fates, followed by Star Seekers, which has let me down. Next we have 8 volumes of a series that I read in just under a week, and it is Tomb Raider King, volumes 2 to 9. When I read volume 1 of Tomb Raider King, I found it quite similar to Solo Leveling, with the whole, instead of dungeons appearing, it was tombs, and you went in and you cleared them and they would disappear, and there was a whole bunch of stats and stuff. And I would say I'm quite happy with my opinion of volume 1. It does very much start to deviate from volume 2 onwards and becomes a lot less like Solo Leveling. In this world you have sort of these artifacts, and you can have some really, really cool artifacts that are like pretty like damn sick cool. Oh, I feel so old. All the way down to some really like shitty ones, and you can kind of like use them to do things. Terrible explanation. And the main character starts out, he raids these tombs to gather these artifacts, but he is betrayed by his boss, and he wakes up though many years beforehand, like 10 years beforehand maybe, and he has all this knowledge, and it's just before tombs start appearing, and he's like, well, I'm gonna get some revenge and one up this guy that actually did me in. And he uses his prior knowledge of different types of artifacts, where they appear, how you can subdue some of them, because most of them have a mind of their own. And he's trying to like quickly get in and get the cool artifacts and destroy some of the really dangerous ones, stuff like that. And this whole like, oh, it's just so much fun. These different artifacts have different abilities, so you're constantly seeing these cool different skills and like things appearing, and these tombs are all sort of themed to the 7 deadly sins. So we've like gone through the sloth one, we've gone through the lust one, and there are like different ways to defeat them, and the boss, which is the big artifact as well. And it's just been such a fun story. And I think I looked up how many chapters there are, and it's like more than twice the length of Solo Leveling, and Solo Leveling is going to be complete at like 13, 14 volumes. So it's going to be like potentially close to 30, and I'm really excited because I really love it. Reading 8 in a go was so much fun. I have volume 10 downstairs and I can't wait. It was, yeah, I always know I enjoy a series where as soon as I'm caught up, I'm online looking when's the next one out, how many volumes are there, where are we at in Japan, well, Korea in this case, apologies, and that's, yeah. Yeah, if you like your system series, highly recommend, but it is going to be a long one, so it depends if you are interested in picking it up physically or reading it in digital format instead. I believe this also might have a light novel. Quite a few of them have light novels. My Gently Raised Beast, volume 7 to 9, complete. That is complete. Volume 9 is a smidgen thin, especially when we've just looked at Tomb Raider King, which was aggressive. And these are a lot less. Look, I'm even able to hold them in one hand. So yep, this is series complete at 9 volumes. I would generally say for the ending, I don't think it was very good. Now, in the series defense, I really loved the series to about halfway through, I'll say, to about volume 5. And then I think it went a bit downhill for me. There is sort of a war, a fight that kind of suddenly happens. There's the whole stuff with the sister. The way that the stuff with the sister wraps up is very confusing. I actually had to, I looked online for I don't understand this bit, can I find someone that explains it better? And in general, the general consensus online was, no, it's just confusing. Oh, okay, good, it's not just me then. There are lots of theories, but yeah, I was reading a lot of Reddit posts about the open threads that kind of get left at the end of the series, and things that don't make sense, and what's the word? Oh, I've gone blank on what the word is. It says one thing, not controversial. It says one thing and then it says something else that doesn't make sense with the first thing. If someone can remind me what that word is, I'm gonna go insane. I'll probably scream for men just after this. Yeah, I don't think it was a great ending. It was kind of I'm not surprised it ended the way it did. You can probably tell from the final cover how it ended, but there was just so many plot points that just felt loose, or yeah, this thing happened, it's like, wait, what? Why did that thing happen? Why are we here? What's the thing? What about that? I still love the first half, just I don't think it stuck to the landing, unfortunately. Not So Wicked Stepmom, volume 5. I think this is the only single volume I have left now that I was behind on. I don't know when volume 6 is out, hopefully soon. This is just such a cute series because not only is it got a really cute like romance element to it, but it also has just a really adorable like familial element to it, with the stepmom being a loving parent to Blanche as well. And it's just, the relationship is just beautiful. All of them are just so adorable and cute, and they've all gone through a bunch of shit, and they found each other, and they love each other, and just every volume is just lovely and nice and pleasant. If you want a nice series, highly recommend. Still potentially some content warnings that you might want to check out, but for the most part, it's about things that happened in the past, not stuff that's happening currently. We're kind of recovering from those things that happened in the past, and then this is just all super cute. See you in my 19th life, volumes 3 and 4. I definitely found it really slow going getting back into volume 3, but like by halfway I was finally back in full steam ahead, and then also went through volume 5 pretty quick. I feel like at this point, like, I'm just kind of waiting for the penny to drop, for him to realize, for her to tell him, I don't really care which way, but for just people to realize or learn. But I guess there is also that if you say that, people are going to think you're crazy, like, yeah, I was this person you knew who died and I've been reborn. But there is a lot of like just situations where it's like, come on. I hope it's soon. I hope we don't find out at the end of the series. I hope it's like a halfway point and then we have relationship and story post that. No one spoil it for me just yet, because I know it's complete. I know there's like a K-drama for it and all sorts, but don't spoil it for me. I will find out when I get there. But that's my current hope, that it is within the next 3 volumes and we get story after that, because I don't want that to be, I want it to be like, here I am, end story. Also, they're very, very chunky. Next we have 4 volumes of Overgeared, volumes 3 through 6. This is another system series. It is a video game isekai. I know there are opinions on if video games that you can come and go from are isekais. They are. It's not that deep. But yeah, this guy has managed to pick up, I can't remember if it's like a legendary or mythic job class for blacksmithing, and he's just super overpowered and has crazy skills, and he's following his quests, and there's loot drops and boss fights, and it's like, oh yes, this is what I want. This is just my kind of jam. And you actually managing to make some real money through it, which is pretty neat. You can help support his family, going through some financial troubles. This is just, yeah, my kind of series. If you again like system series, video game isekai, highly recommend. Itaewon Class volumes 2 and 3. I had quite liked volume 1. I do like a good revenge plot. Volume 1 was pretty much set up, in 2 and 3 we've kind of like some more stories happened. I don't feel like a crazy amount of stories happened though, just like quickly flicking through to remind myself. I kind of, everything that I had in my head I thought was 1 volume, which was, I was like, wait, what happened in the other one? But no, everything I could remember was across both volumes. So the main character has opened a bar, and that his, like, he wants to, yeah, do well. He has a multi-year set plan, and he has finally gotten to the part where he opens his bar, and things aren't going great because they're not getting many customers, and then they get into some bother, and then they manage to hire some staff and it's going better. And I think that's pretty much a lot of what happens in these 2 volumes, which doesn't sound great, but it is actually a pretty decent read. But I do think I went through these pretty quick, and these are a bit more pricey, so I'm not sure like if I consider it worth it for the price, but I still enjoyed it. I also don't think it's overly long. I do think it's complete at like 8 or so volumes, but don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. Uncanny Counter volumes 2 and 3. Now, this is one where I didn't actually enjoy volume 1 too much. I found the amount of lore dump quite aggressive and I struggled to follow along, but it did definitely ease up, which was what I really, really hoped it would do. I still don't fully follow stuff, but they kind of are keeping you up to date and saying things multiple times to help you remember. I feel like we've not gotten crazy much lore about what seems to be the ongoing story. We had a load of stuff around some bullies at the kids' school and dealing with them and like trying to learn restraint and stuff, which is kind of fun. It is always nice seeing bullies get comeuppance and stuff like that. Volume 3 kind of ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah, it did. It did end up on a cliffhanger. What I find interesting, this is a slight spoiler, but also, I'm just going to show you the cover. What I find interesting is how often manhwa covers are just panels from the story. So this is, I guess, a volume 3 spoiler. It's the very last panel. That is the very last panel in volume 3. And like, yeah, it is just the cover for volume 3. And I've noticed it happens a lot. Like a lot of the Villainess turns the hourglass, a lot of the Overgeared ones are all just panels lifted and shifted. Now what I noticed was with Tomb Raider King, it did a similar thing, except it was like a panel lifted and shifted but done up a little nicer. Whereas some of the others are literally just or Villainess turns the hourglass. There's like, some of them are lifted and shifted and some of them are drawn. Like I believe the first cover isn't in the volume. Correct me if I'm wrong. But a number of the later ones are just lifted and shifted. Volume 6's is definitely, I think that was the first one I noticed where they did it. And no particular thing against it. I just find it quite interesting. Be like, oh, there's the cover. Unholy Blood, volumes 2 and 3. I did make a little bit of a mistake. I had not realised I'd accidentally not picked up volumes 4. So I would have read 4 and 5 as well during March, but I forgot to pick up 4. I do now have 4. So I now will read 4 and 5, but during March all I was able to read was 2 and 3. We're getting a lot of nice juicy lore around the vampires. It's very pretty to read. It is very gory. It's quite dark. But yeah, the main character is completely badass, and now she's got the detective guy working with. His backstory was pretty grim, wasn't it? Gosh, if you've read it. Enjoying this a whole bunch as well, probably less so than some of the others. I'd say this and Uncanny Counter and probably the K-pop tie-in ones were probably some of my least favourite ones from last month, but like I still enjoyed them for the most part, especially this one. Again, just keep going. See if I feel like it's all heating up. It's all heating up. That was all of the Eyes Press that I read in March. Now, at the very start of the month, before I decided to try and do an Eyes Press read crazy binge, I did read one other manhwa that was not Eyes Press, and that was the Missing O, Volume 1 from 7 Seas. It is a plastic wrapped. It is smutty. It is about women hunting something down that you might be able to read in the title. I'm not sure how much of a fan I was. What I was quite surprised by, I don't think I've really read a series that was this drastic, was the difference in the art style from the cover. So this is the cover art style, and that is the art style on the inside. And I'm not like, necessarily against the art style, it felt quite a bit different to what we've got on the cover. The inside reminded me a little bit of almost like Scott Pilgrim. Yep, it is very explicit, lots and lots of smut scenes, lots of questionable talk. A lot of the smut scenes are talked by or viewed from like the woman's point of view, which is quite interesting. There is still content warnings, definitely still would recommend checking them out just to be sure you're happy to try it. As it's 7 Seas, it's a bit more pricey than say an Eyes Press volume, but I will keep going, it's smutty. It is also Steamship. My bad, I hadn't realised it had the Steamship imprint, but it does. I think this is this first man with Steamship, I'm not sure. And there we have it, that was all of my reads for March, and I got through so much of my Eyes Press. I'm very, very pleased. It was like 48 volumes, I believe I read, I'm not sure. And yeah, the only ones I didn't get through, as I said, was The Boxer, World After the Fall, and Jungle Juice. Jungle Juice was just next on the hit list and I didn't get to it, and Boxer and World After the Fall I slightly put off because I wasn't biggest fan of the volume 1s. And they are both series that I have kind of like put off picking up more volumes. I believe The Boxer I only have up to volume 6 only, and that volume 10 has just come out. World After the Fall, I am at least a few volumes behind on that as well. I do still intend to get up to date with them. World After the Fall especially, I do think it is a series I will enjoy. It has everything I should enjoy, just volume 1 didn't click for me as much, so I'm hoping doing a nice big binge would help me get into it. There might be some Empress manhwa series where you're like, why didn't you include this? There are some manhwa that Empress still includes under the Empress imprint, such as Imitation, Beginning After the End, Bloody Sweet, and at least one more that escapes me. I did not include those. If I had more time, I probably would have. But I didn't include those for this. I was just aiming for Eyes Press. I do keep my Eyes Press here on my shelves because I like to look at it while I'm working. I think they're really pretty. I have since hauled a bunch more of the new releases, like Omniscient Reader 6, I Tamed My Ex-Husband's Mad Dog Volume 2, Men of the Harem 2, and I'm going to be diving all into those in the next week or so. I'm very excited. If you enjoyed this video, do remember to like and subscribe and check out my channel memberships for early access to all of my videos. It's 99p a month. I am still trying to maintain doing a monthly reading vlog. April is anything goes, and you can already see some of my reads here because I do just stack them here for next month. I am on like 60 something reads and we're about halfway through. I'm really excited to try and hit 100. So it's going to be a really long video next month, so forgive me for that. I might break it up into two. No, I won't do that. It's going to be a really crazy video and you're all going to get mad at me. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Have I tempted you towards any eyes press or tempted you away from any eyes press? Apologies. Otherwise, I hope you have the most wonderful day and I will see you next time. Bye bye.